Welcome back. You are here with Goldberg. Now, some of you might be saying, what the hell am I doing here? I actually have the same question myself, but I figured that if there were topics I deemed worthwhile, I might bring them up sporadically on the youtube.com, if only just for kicks. But today we have a request. This comes from Mike, and it goes, Dear Dr. Goldberg, I watched a number of your videos, and I was hoping you might be able to give me some advice on my present dilemma. I'm 18 years old and in the process of joining the United States Marine Corps. At the same time, I've been dating this girl for about 2 years who I like a lot and believe has fairly respectable traditional values. I'm toying with the idea of proposing to her now, and then we would plan to get married once I complete Marine Corps boot camp. I guess with Marine Corps it's boot camp, and other branches it's basic training. That's just a little tidbit back for when I actually was looking into the military on a serious basis. But he continues, however, I'm concerned because I've seen a lot of content that suggests marriage is a risky endeavor, particularly for men in the modern age. Well, first of all, good on you, Mike, for having the mental and emotional maturity to have that back and forth inside of your head. A lot of people will just march in headlong, feelings, emotions, base instincts. They put the blinders on their eyes, they shove the wocks into their ears, and then they complain when it blows up in their face. You have to at least try if you want to avoid pitfalls in life. Don't have the mentality of, I have to fail to learn. That is the imbecile's approach to the world, and unfortunately that's the reason why many problems still exist. But just to be very clear, and I'm definitely not an advocate of marriage, as you know, if you want to maximize your chance of being successful in a matrimonial union in the military, it's going to come down, a lot of it really, to the job that you have. If you have, and some people will get offended by this, a normal chair force position, relatively uneventful schedule, you get fairly consistent time off, you're not working tons of overtime, you're not necessarily getting deployed to parts of the world where you can't bring your wife along or kids, then you have a better chance. It's still risky, but I could see it actually working. However, if you're like combat arms, combat support, any position that's going to have you sent into the sandbox or being away from home for long periods of time, long hours, definitely don't go forward with getting married. It's a total minefield. And I know some people feel, oh, that's ridiculous, but without question, women who I've talked to who got divorced, broke up, whatever, the number one thing they cite is that, he wasn't paying enough attention to me. He was gone too much. He was too much of a workaholic. Obviously, in the military, that's part of your job. But a lot of girls, especially if they marry a guy like right out of high school in the military, they don't understand that. They think that it's going to be like high school, lovey-dovey, hanging out all the time every weekend. No, you're going to be away for long periods of time, more than likely. And what happens there, unfortunately, we think of the military as these time-honored institutions, fidelity, truth, justice. There's a whole lot of cuckoldry that goes along in the military. Because once you deploy, it's good old Jody or Cindy at this point. Don't want to make any judgments about people's orientations. They step in and, I need some emotional or physical support. I think stuff like that personally should be a heinous crime, not just you get divorced. I think both the man and woman, or both women, both men involved, should face serious penalties on a legal basis for doing such a thing, for breaking up someone's marriage when the dude's deployed overseas or the woman's deployed overseas, especially in a combat zone. But that being said, you have to be aware of it, all right? It's very difficult in the modern age to function effectively in a relationship when you're thousands of miles away for a long period of time. And that's the reason why you have to be careful, because if you end up getting divorced, in the military you don't make much money to begin with. You don't want to cut that in half, cut potentially your BAH in half, whatever other benefits you might be getting. You don't want to mess with that, especially if kids are involved. So I'm just going to say that if you have a job in the military that you know from the description for people you talk to will require you to be putting a lot of your hours, a lot of your life into it, do not get married. And even if you have more of the normal schedule, think twice, because marriage as it is now, it's not about love and romance. It's largely about, can you work in an economic partnership with someone? And if they get sick of you, they're going to take a big chunk and walk away. So you have to take that risk, or you can just choose to, be a little bit smarter and postpone it or reassess down the road if you really think this girl is worthwhile. And she might be great. I don't know her. She could be fantastic, but the tolls of a long distance relationship in the military where your duties have to come first, that can be very difficult, especially for women in the current age, to deal with and to, endure successfully.